Hello, welcome back to Dark Tower YouTube. We're doing a deep psychological dive into the magic, the mystery, and the metaphysics of Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower. Welcome to a special bonus episode. I am your host, Michelle McEwen. I am here with my Dark Tower friend, Ash. And today we are talking about what the hell happened in the Grapefruit. Spoilers for Wizard and Glass here, and spoilers for the entire series at large. Y'all know the scene in Wizard and Glass where Roland ventures into the wizard's glass, the pink one, for the first time and has this incredible vision, experience, auditory, visual, feeling, sensation, and things happen and are revealed to him. And we're asking the question, is it just what meets the eye? Are we taking this very literally as Stephen King is spelling it out? Or perhaps are there other things going on here that he is hinting at and asking us to look at more closely and to dive deeper into? And that is exactly what we love to do here at Dark Tower YouTube. So we're doing it. And Ash has some theories about what is happening in there. So brief explanation and then we'll pick it apart. Ash?
Yes, so this last time that I was reading through Wizard and Glass and in the grapefruit section where, he's like in the pink storm and gets this amazing vision that sends him on his quest to the Dark Tower. Like, this is the first time that he decides this is my fate, like Ka is telling me to go here. In the vision, the biggest, the voice that he hears is the voice of the turtle, or so we're told. So I'm not sure that this vision was actually from the turtle or from Ka. I think that it may potentially be a trap, also potentially set by the Man in Black to get Roland out of the way of the revolution to make Gilead fall. So that is sort of what started this, and as I, pulled more quotes, and as you pulled more quotes and looking at it, we're like, there might be more to this that than meets the eye. There might be some nefarious things happening within this vision.
It's definitely worth a closer look at, like Ash said, the voice of the turtle. We are really going to think about who is the turtle based on what we know of him. And by the way, we must look at the turtle in the book It, because that's another time. We said, where else do we hear the voice of the turtle? And can we compare these two experiences? So we have some content from It, so I guess spoilers for It too here as well. So is this the voice of the turtle? We're going to give you some pretty good evidence that it might not be. And then whose voice is it? And we've done a big series on the Man in Black, so we're best friends with him forever. And we think that he might have had something to do with this. And we have found quite a bit of evidence that he's involved here as well, especially considering he gave Roland a very similar vision years later in The Gunslinger. Because remember, Wizard and Glass is a flashback. Mm-hmm. So we're going through a lot of excerpts from the book, long visions. We're going to read through it all. We're going to pick it apart, give you evidence for this theory, and then really, really interested to hear if you think we're full of it, if this is completely bananas, or if you think we're making a solid case to be considered at least, if not totally the truth of what's happening. And we know that Stephen King loves to make connections beneath the surface in all of his books and thread things together. We know that he loves riddles and that this series, starting from The Wastelands, talks a lot about riddles and the importance of riddles in novels. And we've heard Stephen King himself talk about how there are things in the Dark Tower universe series that people have not figured out yet. He's laid us some traps or some riddles, and we think this might be one of them. Stephen King, if you're listening, what do you think? All right, so here we go, guys. Are you ready? We're going to start with Roland in Wizard and Glass. He and his friends, Cuthbert and Elaine have, I think they've just defeated Jonas and
Yeah.
his crew. I think that's correct when I put that in the notes. Yes, because Jonas had the wizard's rainbow, the pink one, the grapefruit
Mm-hmm.
they call it. And I reread that death scene, and it's amazing. But he shoots Jonas in the face,
Mm-hmm.
grabs the ball as it's being dropped, and now it belongs to Roland. And he cannot help himself to look into this ball, just
Mm-hmm.
like everybody else that we've seen who has ever held it. Roland, too, is going to gaze into the ball. And maybe you can start us off with how this even begins, because there's clues here that we need to be have our listening ears on, reading eyes on.
Mm-hmm. All right, so King writes, Roland slipped the drawstring bag off his shoulder, held it before him on the bridge of his saddle for a moment, and then opened it. For a moment the bag's mouth was black, and then it filled with the irregular pulse of a lovely pink light. It crept up the gunslinger's smooth cheeks like fingers and swam in his eyes. Roland, Cuthbert said, suddenly nervous, I don't think you should play with that, especially not now. They'll have heard the shooting out at Hanging Rock. If we're going to finish what we started, we don't have time for... Roland ignored him. He slipped both hands into the bag and lifted the wizard's glass out. He held it up to his eyes, unaware that he had smeared it with droplets of Jonas's blood. The ball did not mind. This was not the first time it had been blood-touched. It flashed and swirled formlessly for a moment, and then its pink vapors opened like curtains. Roland saw what was there and lost himself in it.
The first thing I notice is that the ball immediately comes to life for him.
Yes.
And that's not always true. Not everybody who looks into this ball gets to see things, and it doesn't always light up for them. So for Roland, though, it's pretty instantaneous.
Yes. The three that we have seen it do this for sort of like immediately is Rhea, the witch. Although it sort of stops once it's like siphoned enough of her life force, it kind of stops responding to her. But then we also see it with Jonas when he takes it from her, and then now we're seeing it with Roland. We haven't really seen it immediately respond like this to anyone else. And it's also worth noting that Roland's involvement with it feels different than the other two, which we'll go into in a little bit.
And there's blood involved, which
Yes.
feels significant as well, where when Rhea and Jonas have looked in it, as far as we know, there was no blood sacrifice to the ball. Yeah. So that's perhaps setting things off differently as well for Roland.
Yes. And also, we need to remember that in this story, I mean, a lot of different evil things throughout King's works, but specifically the grapefruit, is sentient, like unto itself. It does have its own, like, will, so it opens to who it wants to open to and will not for anyone else. It can, call to people and siphon life force. So it is its own entity.
And that's, as a sentient thing, its goal is to siphon life force.
Yes.
It's showing awful things that are happening, but that is to get the viewer's attention, get them sucked in. The doom scrolling of Gilead, if you will.
Yeah. And it's addictive. I mean, it's like the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. It is an addictive thing that the more you interact with it, the more you are compelled to keep going with it, which is kind of what happened to Rhea and why she's basically like a walking corpse by the end. Yeah.
All right, we're going to move into the vision, and it's quite long, so we're going to do it in chunks. We're going to go a couple paragraphs and stop and pull out things that we thought were worth digging a little bit deeper into or thinking about or asking questions about that we don't know all the answers. You guys have to answer our questions for us sometimes. And I didn't say at the beginning, this could be a two-part episode. We're not sure because there's quite a bit of notes involved and reading and etc. But that's fun. I love it. Okay, Roland goes inside of the grapefruit. King writes, Roland. He will hear this voice in uneasy dreams for the rest of his life, never quite remembering what he had dreamed, only knowing that the dreams leave him feeling ill somehow, walking restlessly, straightening pictures in loveless rooms, listening to the call to Mazine in alien town squares. Roland of Gilead. This voice, which he almost recognizes, a voice so like his own that a psychiatrist for Eddie or Susanna or Jake's when and where would say it is his voice, the voice of his subconscious. But Roland knows better. Roland knows that often the voices that sound the most like our own when they speak in our heads are those of the most terrible outsiders, the most dangerous intruders. Roland, son of Stephen. The ball has taken him first to Hanbury and to the mayor's house, and he would see more of what is happening there. But then it takes him away, calls him away in that strangely familiar voice, and he has to go. There is no choice, because unlike Rhea or Jonas, he is not watching the ball and the creatures who speak soundlessly within it. He is inside the ball, a part of its endless pink storm. Okay, as I was reading, I was already like, we gotta talk about that and that and that and that. So I'm gonna stop and we're gonna go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna say, this voice is calling his name.
Yes.
Did we see that happening with any of the other people who have looked at this ball?
No. So this is the first time we really see a voice or anything speak to them. It's sort of like when characters break the fourth wall in media. This is the first time that the ball is breaking the fourth wall with whoever's looking into it. Like we do not see the ball itself like really interact in that way. And again, we don't know really what this voice is at this point, and you know we've got theories about it, but regardless of whose voice it is, the fact that there is someone or something speaking to Roland through the ball is completely new.
Yes. And let's look at, we're already getting information about this voice, and it's immediately associated with bad things. For the rest of his life, he hears this in uneasy dreams. It leaves him feeling ill. This is not a nice day in the park that he's having right off the bat, before he even is really seeing anything at all. I find it interesting that it's just saying, like, this voice is the thing that leads him to straighten pictures in strange hotel rooms. Like we saw him doing that in The Gunslinger and found that to be a characteristic of his personality. And it's telling us right here that that's where that started. Yeah. This inner presence of like driving him to do things, I guess. Okay, I'll pause and let you go next. What else?
Yeah. Well, a voice so like his own. Bringing up that a psychiatrist, like in our world, would probably consider it to be his subconscious, his own voice, which I'll get into that also, where we've done videos sort of dissecting the Man in Black as the shadow side of Roland, and how alike they are. So I feel like that lends at least a little bit of credence to the idea that this could be the Man in Black. Or could be something that was set up by the Man in Black, because his voice, I mean, he and Roland are very, very similar in so many different ways. I also find it interesting that it says Roland knows that that's not true, that it's not his voice, because we don't see a lot of introspection at all, really, with Roland as a character. I mean, as the series goes on, he sort of starts trying more in that regard, but he is very much living in the moment and not really thinking about anything beyond that. So it is interesting that King specifically brings up the fact that Roland supposedly knows this, especially because we've seen him believe like 100% that something is true and then it not be. And just because Roland believes that this is true does not mean that it is.
Yeah, and I can't remember where I did it, guys, because I've made too many videos at this point. But at some point in the regular book club version of this, I bring up the idea that Roland is an unreliable narrator, and I think we need to keep that in mind as we're reading through this whole thing.
Definitely.
And also, he knows better, and I'm like, does he?
Right.
I don't know. But even if he's like, this is, it's not, it sounds a lot like me. That's a big clue. Like when we're getting into the idea of like, does the turtle sound like Roland?
Right.
Or does somebody else sound like Roland? And then he's saying, but it's not me. But it could be, again, the most terrible outsider, the most dangerous intruder. This is his sense of what this voice is and what it's about. So we're tracking this as we go through.
Yes.
Okay. But then we read it, and we read the next part, and it's calling him kind of deeper and deeper in. It knows who he is. It knows who his father is. It knows where he lives. It knows everything about him.
Yes.
Strangely familiar voice.
Yes.
Stressed again. King is telling us this is now the second time a voice so like his own. This is strangely familiar. So he's giving us some things to chew on here.
Yes.
And yes.
I was just going to say, because we, up to this point, have not seen Roland ever interact with the turtle or any other guardians, or like entities beyond men at this point. You know, this is before he started getting into the bigger leagues in that regard. So it's the fact that it is familiar is suspect, because where is it coming from? Why does he know it?
Those are the big questions that I think we should be asking as we read through this. He also is hearing this, and we're told that, and we've learned through Rhea and Jonas looking at the ball, that they just see things happening without hearing it. And we see that later when Roland looks into this glass again and is watching I listened to that Susan's death this morning and was just like crying my eyes out. It's awful. But anyway, when he's looking at the ball at that point, he doesn't hear anything. He just sees, he knows that they're saying chair you tree, but he doesn't hear them. But this is different. He is hearing things here. So that's a little different too.
Yes, and also, you know, different from the other characters that have looked into it, like you said. Like, I think specifically with Rhea, we get some of her, like, internal thoughts that she wished that she could hear, and isn't able to. And I mean, also King lays it out here, like, he's inside the ball, and this is different from anything we've seen before. Other people have not traveled like this. He's basically astral projecting inside this ball, if we want to use a term from our world.
Right, and why? Is it because of the blood sacrifice? Is it because he's a gunslinger? Is it because or is it because there's some other sort of magic or glamour going on here?
Right.
Very different, though, from anything we've seen before.
Yes.
Anything else there before we pick up the vision? You want to read the next part?
Yeah. All right, so we'll pick back up with Roland, come. Roland, see. And so the storm whirls him first up and then away. He flies across the drop, rising and rising through stacks of air, first warm and then cold. And he is not alone in the pink storm which bears him west along the path of the beam. Roland, "Come," the voice says, "the voice of the storm, the voice of the glass." And Roland comes. The romp flies by him, glassy eyes blazing with pink light. A scrawny man in farmer's overalls goes flying past, his long red hair streaming out behind him. "Life for you and for your crop," he says. Something like that, anyway. And then he's gone. Next, spinning like a weird windmill, comes an iron chair. To Roland, it looks like a torture device, equipped with wheels. And the boy gunslinger thinks, the Lady of Shadows, without knowing why he thinks it or what it means. Now the pink storm is carrying him over the blasted mountains, now over a fertile green delta, where a broad river runs its oxbow squiggles like a vein, reflecting a placid blue sky that turns to the pink of wild roses as the storm passes above. Ahead, Roland sees an uprushing column of darkness, and his heart quails. But this is where the pink storm is taking him, and this is where he must go. Would you like me to keep going, or you want to pause there?
Let's pause, because there's a couple of things in there I think we can talk about. This is definitely a different experience. He can, not only is he hearing, but he's feeling the temperature of the air. So there's sensation happening. He is traveling west. What do we know about west, Ash?
West is where the failed gunslingers are sent. If you do not pass your trial of manhood, you are exiled and sent west in disgrace, basically, and you cannot return to Gilead. So it is interesting that he's traveling west along the path of the beam, especially because we know that there are multiple beams. There's not just one beam. And even with this beam, like, he could have been traveling the other way, but he's not. He's traveling west. That is something that King specifically writes. And like you pointed out, like, this is... West is not a good direction in the series.
When we see west equals bad.
Yes.
Someone, I forget where, maybe in the comments of one of my other videos, or maybe on Reddit, I can't remember, but somebody talked about hacks and how hacks worked in the West kitchen. I missed it. And I was like, dang it, that's right, the West kitchen. So it's littered throughout the series, and we can't catch everything, but we caught it here, and we said, aha, west along the path of the beam. And we can't go too deep into it because we don't know, but I just said, which beam?
Yeah.
Because if we're traveling southeast, then we're on a different beam. What does that mean?
Right.
Or does it mean that? Anyway, a lot to think about there, but definitely we're clued into, like, west equals bad. We're going in a bad direction.
Yes.
So just more loading on of King as to, like, this is bad, this is not good, it's making him sick, it's making him uneasy, this is the most dangerous intruder. It's west. Okay. All right, and then we get more information here. The voice of the storm, the voice of the glass. I don't remember why I highlighted that, do you?
I think probably just because we are, told in a minute that it's the voice of the turtle. And those are diametrically opposed because the turtle is known to be a benevolent being. And this is clearly not, as we'll get into more, but the fact that it's saying the voice of the storm, the voice of the glass, and then it's changing to the turtle after, I think that may be a hint, but again, Roland is unreliable in his account of this, and it can't be both. It can't be both the voice of the turtle and the voice of the glass. So whose voice is it is still kind of the question.
I agree, and this is the first part here, and we'll get to it when we get to it, but it's like the voice says, the voice of the storm, the voice of the glass. And then later, it's like Roland knows who this is. And it's not, King's not saying the voice of the turtle until Roland identifies it as such. But King hasn't identified it as such. And so far, he's only told us all the bad, 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 bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, next is the iron chair. And we recognize this as Susanna's wheelchair.
Yes.
And this is interesting and giving us a clue as to who is talking to us when Roland, the boy, thinks the Lady of Shadows. Because, Ash, who else calls Susanna the Lady of Shadows?
The first reference we get to the Lady of Shadows is specifically from the Man in Black when reading Roland's, like, doing a tarot reading for Roland about his future. We get the prisoner, the pusher, and the Lady of Shadows, I believe. Is the pusher in the regardless, Lady of Shadows is a name that is given to Roland to discuss Susanna by the Man in Black. The Man in Black is who originally calls her that.
Yeah, that's a Man in Black terminology. Nobody else says that until the Man in Black does. And then it's like, wow, if this is him, which is kind of our theory, he knew that all the way back here. So remember, this is eons before Susanna even exists. But we're making reference to her as the Lady of Shadows. And the chair thing, I mean, this is interesting, just a different show about why is Susanna, we see Oy in this vision as dead. We don't get Jake, we don't get Eddie in here. We get Susanna, who, as it turns out, is the only one who survives the Dark Tower quest, ultimately. And so I think that's interesting, and that this is it looks like a torture device to Roland. That feels a little... The choice of language there is interesting.
That brings up another thing that I hadn't even thought about this until you said it, but when Jonas is looking into the glass at one point, King refers to it as a labial pink, which is very unique and interesting terminology for something like this. So I'm wondering if there is an aspect of like a feminine archetype type energy from it. I don't know. Like that's sort of neither here nor there, but it might be one clue as to why Susanna is mentioned.
Yeah. Again, totally different show wherein we talk about why Susanna, and I have a really good answer for that because she is the only one who embraces both sides of herself literally in the book and balances the masculine and feminine energies, and Roland fails to embrace his feminine energy all throughout the book and therefore has to start over again, but totally different episode. But we're going to move on and get back to what we're talking about. I don't really think there's anything in that next paragraph that's telling us too much about the voice, so we'll just keep moving. King writes, I want to get out, he thinks, but he's not stupid. He realizes the truth. He may never get out. The wizard's glass has swallowed him. He may remain in its stormy, muddled eye forever. I'll shoot my way out if I have to, he thinks, but no. He has no guns. He is naked in the storm, rushing bare-ass toward that virulent blue-black infection that has buried all the landscape beneath it. And yet, he hears singing. Faint but beautiful, a sweet harmonic sound that makes him shiver and think of Susan, bird and bear and hare and fish. Suddenly, Shimi's mule, Capriccioso, Roland thinks, a beautiful name, goes past, galloping on thin air with his eyes as bright as fire dims in the storm's lumbre fuego. Following him, wearing a sombrero and riding a broom festooned with fluttering reap charms, comes Rhea of the Coos. I'll get you, my pretty, she screams at the fleeing mule, and then cackling, she is gone, zooming and grooming. Okay, pause. He feels trapped.
Yes.
He wants to get out. This is not pleasant for him. The things that he's seeing are like torturous devices, and then he's feeling like the truth is I might be here forever. That's
Yeah.
intense. That's not nice.
No. And I think that's also, again, a different experience than we get from Rhea and Jonas. They are drawn into and enjoy what's being done. There's like almost a thrall put on them where they are more than willing to keep looking into this thing and keep giving it more of themselves. So the fact that Roland feels the opposite is interesting. And I also think it's interesting that, like, the other characters that we've seen interact with this, although it is hard, they are able to pull themselves away from the glass when they need to. And Roland is seemingly incapable of that right now.
Yes. He decides that he'll use his guns to solve his problems, but alas, there are no guns here for him, and he is also naked. These are choices. In another episode, we'll talk about how the guns are not the big deal superhero saving the day things that we all sometimes like to think they are, and that's not what King is telling us about them. But here we have yet another example of that, where no luck, no guns, naked. What are we being asked to think about Roland in that state, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that Roland's entire identity is wrapped up in the fact that he is a gunslinger. His guns are an extension of himself. You know, we don't, like, that's the whole, like gunslinger, like, speech that they go through, specifically about using the gun, like, sort of as an extension of yourself. And he's never known anything else. He's been training for this his entire life, even as a child. Like, that was the point. Was he was raised and groomed specifically into this role and this role alone. So for him to not have any of that identity in this glass, he is fully and totally alone.
I agree. I think that's a pretty good summing up. Just to quickly mention that we get the idea in the opening to the entire series, when King went back and chose an opening excerpt, he chose Thomas Wolfe, Look Homeward Angel, which recurs throughout the series, and he gives us this quote about naked and alone we entered into exile, that whole thing. And it kind of was sparking that idea too, of this, like, rebirth into not a nice situation is kind of what King sets up.
Yeah, especially the fact that he's traveling west. West is exile. I mean, that matches pretty perfectly with that quote. I also wanted to point out really quickly that when we get he may remain in its stormy, muddled eye forever, eye imagery is something we get with not only John Farson, but also Man in Black, who may or may not be the same person. We have got over that with a fine-tooth comb in our series, but regardless, we know that those two are at least working together, if not the same person. We know that the sigil of Farson and his men is that wide-open eye, so it's interesting that we're getting that eye imagery here as well.
Yeah, we continue to just stack up. This is all really gnarly and bad and associated to bad things and bad places and the bad guys. And yet he hears singing.
Yes.
That's an interesting touch, because later in the series we have, already in the series we have singing around the idea of the rose, so that we hear this harmonic voice around the rose. But it also happens when the characters go Todash to an extent.
Yes.
And I pulled out that quote maybe on the next page if you want to.
Yeah.
Are you looking at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is, I think, when Eddie and Jake first go Todash, in the beginning of Wolves. King writes, he heard a brief chiming melody that was somehow too beautiful. 3 notes and you wanted it to stop. a dozen and you thought it would kill you if it didn't. Then, just when he truly believed he could bear it no longer, the terrible, gorgeous tune stopped.
I don't really know what to make of that. That he is, everything so far has been pretty bad, but this is
Yeah.
our first thing that doesn't quite fit that.
Yes.
Except that it could be our signal that this is a Todash state.
Yeah, it's possibly that. It's also possibly, I mean, if we're going with the idea that this is a trap, if the man in black knows the gunslinger's instincts really well, and this could just be a way to try to like loosen him up, get his guard down a little bit, especially with the callback to like this is making him think of Susan. So that may be part of it. It may be Todash. We're not sure, but it's very different from the rest of the vision that we've gotten so far.
Next, we get some visions that are very reminiscent, I mean, almost play by play from The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
So Dorothy Gale swept up in the tornado, and she sees things spinning around her, just like Roland has already done. And then we get the Toto the dog is in that, and then the witch, I'll get you my pretty. We are supposed to be making that connection through that quote, right?
Yeah, and I mean especially like again at the end of Wizard and Glass, they're meeting the Man in Black in the Emerald Palace. You know, like they're meeting him in what is a satirical version of the Wizard of Oz like background, right? And we also know that the Man in Black loves doing this, loves bringing in things from other worlds that other people would be completely unfamiliar with. It's almost like a wink to the audience, if you want to go on like with the meta lens. He does this way we see as the Covenant Man, where his wand is like a gear shift of a car. So it's not the first time he, you know, says quotes and things from our When and Where to people like Jonas that have no idea what the hell he's talking about. So this might be another hint at that he's clued in somehow.
I agree, because it links us to the Man in Black in the Emerald Palace at the end of the book. That's a very clear connection. And we don't have any reason to believe that, we don't have any link to the turtle sending a vision from the Wizard of Oz or talking about the Wizard of Oz, but we have that very clear connection to the Man in Black in this very book to the Emerald City.
Yes.
I mean, a whole other episode is like, what is why the Wizard of Oz, and how does that world compare to what's going on, and the rules of travel, and Dorothy Gale, and all of the twinners in the two different stories. But there's always more to dig into in this series. That's for another show. But we do have this interesting term that I had never come across before, the storm's lumbre fuego. Do you want to tell us what you found about that?
Yeah, so, I mean, I already knew that fuego meant fire, but I looked up lumbre, and specifically, it's also fire, but there's different connotations. So, from what I read, lumbre is more of it's usually a man-made fire, while fuego is like a natural fire. So it's interesting that they are mixed together here, and I'm wondering if that's a hint from King that maybe yes, the Wizard's Glass has a mind of its own. However, potentially there is some man-made interference in this vision, and that may be a clue.
Right, because it's a very specific term that I've never heard before. It's a very particular thing that he's
Mm-hmm.
saying there, which you must. How many of you, when you read it, went and looked that up because you said, "What does that mean?" And then we think about it and we say, "Man-made, huh? Huh?
Yeah. Man-made and also mixed with natural, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's right." All right. You want to keep going or anything else from there?
I think we're good. Yeah. Oh,
Okay. I think
would you like me
you're
to
up.
read? Okay.
Yeah.
So King continues. Ahead is a tree, like a crooked, clutching hand. On its topmost branch, a billy bumbler has been impaled. It should be dead, but as the pink storm carries Roland past, it raises its head and looks at him with inexpressible pain and weariness. Oi! It cries, and then it too is gone, and not to be remembered for many years.
Oh, poor Oi.
I know.
When I read this for the first time, I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't read that.
Right?
It probably means nothing.
It's probably fine.
Damn. But it didn't.
I
And
know.
so, I mean, not only is this the man in black who knows that this is a cycle, that knows what is to come, that knows about Susanna, also knows about Oi and Oi's fate. And remember, oh, you don't remember if you haven't seen it, but go watch our series where we said he knows about everybody else's death. He knows what's going to happen with everybody else. He just can't predict his
Mm-hmm.
own
Yeah.
demise when he's out and about.
Yeah.
So that kind of
I
fits too. Go ahead.
I do also think it's interesting that King chose not to have Oi as the Toto stand-in. That is Capriccioso, the mule, and I think that that is probably King signifying that Oi's role is much more significant than just like an animal sidekick. Like he is part of the quartet,
Hmm.
and I think that that may be hinting at that because otherwise, I think that Oi would have been sort of the stand-in that you would expect for Toto. So I do think that that is potentially a reason why.
Good call. I did wonder that and should have asked it out loud, but you did. So, yeah, like why not? But the idea that we're also just going to see him. We saw the iron chair that looks like a torture device to Roland when he's thinking of his new friends, and now we see his other new friend here in the future. That is dying a terrible death. We're looking at really grim stuff here.
Yep.
Bad, 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 bad. Okay, so this is all bad. So we're kind of questioning. We got to get into the turtle, which we're going to do in a minute,
Mm-hmm.
because we know some things about the turtle from this series and also from it. But so far, and what you know is that the turtle is good. The turtle's a good guy. The turtle doesn't. We haven't seen anything like this out of the turtle. So what is he doing in there anyway? Why would the turtle be inside
Yeah.
of the wizard's rainbow? I mean, the only thing I could think, like, if our theory is totally wrong, which I think there's enough evidence here to say it's worth at least
Yeah.
considering. I just thought maybe, I mean, we're somehow tapping into Roland's consciousness, and we're
Yeah.
sharing consciousness with the ball, and so the turtle is part of his consciousness. But it's more of a stretch to me to
Yeah.
say that and make that fit than what we're doing here.
Yeah, I agree. Like we could be wrong, but I do feel like we have enough evidence to at least question Roland's interpretation of the vision.
And we know that the man in black can has powers to send visions. And we
Mm-hmm.
see this not just once, but multiple times.
Yes.
We see him in Wind Through the Keyhole using these powers of divination in the Silver Basin to
Yes.
show young Tim what's going on
Yes.
with his mom and at home and this kind of thing. So, and he shows Tim characters in Tim's immediate circle and what's happening with them. Bad things surprise, surprise, they're happening with people in his circle. So this is an echo of that if we're looking at it like that.
Yeah. And again, we know that he can at least see a good chunk of the future. Maybe not necessarily when it comes to himself or his own deaths, like we talked about, but the Man in Black seems to know sort of what's going on with everybody else, spanning literally thousands of years, which is interesting. But yeah, I think that that is enough evidence to question if he is involved, because we do see him use these powers, and then we also know that he specializes in glamour magic. So he can make himself look and sound like anyone else. So it's not like completely out of left field to say like maybe he's somehow either disguising his voice or at the same time as using his voice is somehow projecting into Roland's like subconscious, like, hey, this is the turtle, this is like a good guy, as a trap.
Right. And this is where we get the voice again. King, we're going to go back into the glass, and King writes, "Look ahead, Roland. See your destiny." Now, suddenly, he knows that voice. It is the voice of the turtle. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is not King, the narrator, saying the voice of the turtle, where he said the voice of the glass, the voice of the storm. He says Roland knows that voice is the voice of the turtle, and that is different.
That is different than King confirming that it is the voice of the turtle.
That is different. And so when we read that at this point, we're going to say, do you know that,
Yep.
Roland? Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
We have our doubts at this point.
Yeah.
And so now I think we need to really think about the turtle.
Yes.
To say, what do we know about the turtle? And why could we start to doubt? Why should we doubt Roland's knowledge, his knowing here? And we do get some information about the turtle in this book. And so, of course, the Man in Black knows everything about everyone and everything and what's going on all the time over thousands of years, like we just said. So, of course, he knows about the turtle. And, of course, he knows about the turtle in the book It as well, because he moves throughout King's books. Even if we don't see him directly in It, I bet he knows all about it.
Yeah.
So he knows about this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he comes from this world where the turtle is enmeshed in the culture and the mythos and the world building.
He is... We need to do... It may be more than just one video, but we do really need to break down like the lore and religions of Midworld and Roland's world in general, because there's a lot of interesting things. Like, they do have a version of Christianity. However, they also have these guardians of the beams, and they're sort of, I guess a similar comparison would be kind of like the Chinese zodiac, where it's like these animal, like, spirit guardian protectors, and they are taught about them from birth, basically. I mean, they're like nursery rhymes, given to these kids that grow up in Gilead, so everybody is very familiar with this. This is one of like the first things they really learn about their own world and their own sort of legends within it.
And the Man in Black, Walter Paddock, that we learn about in book 7, also grew up in this place.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, somewhere in Midworld, very Midworld adjacent. So he grew up with this too.
Yes.
And the poem goes, "See the turtle of enormous girth. On his shell he holds the earth. His thought is slow but always kind. He holds us all within his mind. On his back all vows are made. He sees the truth, but mayn't aid. He loves the land and loves the sea, and even loves a child like me. But what do we learn from, if we're to believe that the actual totem guardian of the beam, the turtle, is being reflected in this nursery rhyme, what do we learn about him or her or them?
I think in it, he's specifically referred to as he. I think
Okay.
primarily because it's the opposite of it, Pennywise being, spoiler, a woman spider thing at the end.
Okay.
But regardless, feminine energy versus the turtles, I guess, masculine energy. His thought is slow, but always kind.
Always.
Always. This is a benevolent creature that has a very kind heart and cares and loves. If we go by it, he created the universe. Our universe, anyway. Not the macroverse, but our universe. But he's benevolent. He does not help, which is also interesting. And we do get a little bit of a difference with that with it. He doesn't offer a ton of help, but is sort of just like a little bit of a cheerleader for a minute for Bill during the ritual of Chewed. But regardless, he is a benevolent being, but does not interfere. He's like, I care about you, but your world is your world, and so I'm not getting involved. So not only is what we're seeing with this like very uncomfortable, uneasy feeling of like Roland almost being like haunted by this voice for the rest of his life, that doesn't sound like a benevolent creature. And also, why is the voice reaching out to begin with? The turtle doesn't interfere. Maturin doesn't interfere. So
Yeah.
why is the turtle all of a sudden interfering for the first time in the history of the universe? And why would he be doing that through an evil object?
I have no answer to that because it doesn't make a lick of sense. We know who does like to interfere all the time.
Yep.
And cause chaos and make bad things happen and get people off track. We know a guy that does that.
All the time. His favorite thing to do.
Yeah. And again, just we have a repetition here. We've got a 3-beat of love. The turtle loves, loves, loves. He is always kind. This is a good guy. This is in this little poem, it's all good.
Yep.
All right. So, are you all ready? Are you with us? Are you believing us? No? Okay, well, maybe not. We're still going to have to do a little bit of work, Ash. And we're going to have to dive into it. I think what we're going to do is dive into the it, what we find about the turtle and it, and then we're probably going to call it a day because we're already at an hour and we're only 4 pages in. So, we need to go over to the world of it, to Stuttering Bill. Not the robot in Book 7 of the Dark Tower. Stuttering Bill, the child that is loved by the turtle. Yes. Also, the nakedness just reminds me kind of that childness. No guns, naked Roland. But no love there for Roland. If you haven't read it, you've probably seen the movies, right? Everybody's seen at least one of those movies. He needs to combat this creature of evil in a ritual of the meeting of the minds. It is a psychic meeting. It is external. It is perhaps a Todash state a little bit. He goes out of himself into this astral projection and meets the turtle along the way. Do you want to read through what happens? And feel free to pause if you want to. We need to talk about something.
Yes. All right. So this is during the first ritual of Chewed, when Bill is a child. King writes, he felt not fear, but a sense of overmastering awe. He rushed toward it and saw it was a great turtle, its shell plated with many blazing colors. Its ancient reptilian head slowly poked out of its shell. The eyes of the turtle were kind. What are you? I'm the turtle, son. I made the universe, but please don't blame me for it. I had a bellyache. Help me, please help me. I take no stand in these matters. My brother has his own place in the macroverse. Energy is eternal, as even a child such as yourself must understand. Please help me. For the others, you must help yourself, son. But how? Please tell me. How? Please, you are good. I sense and believe that you are good, and I am begging you. Won't you please help me? You already know. There is only Chewed and your friends. Please, oh please. Son, you've got to thrust your fists against the post and still insist you see the ghosts. That's all I can tell you. Once you get into cosmological shit like this, you gotta throw away the instruction manual.
Let's keep going. Later, this is when Bill finally is starting to beat it in the ritual of Chud. The turtle speaks again and says, "You're doing good, son, but very shortly it's going to be too late. Don't talk to me, son, and don't talk to yourself. It's tearing you loose. Bite in if you care, if you dare, if you can be brave, if you can stand. Bite in, son. Not bad, son, but I'd finish it now. Don't let it get away. Energy has a way of dissipating, you know. What can be done when you're 11 can often never be done again." Well, what do we learn about the turtle? The first thing I notice is that the entire way that he speaks, the rhythm, the dialect, is like nothing we are hearing inside of the Wizard's Glass. And this was written before Wizard and Glass was written.
Yes.
So King knew who the turtle was.
Yes.
And how he talked and what he was about when he wrote Wizard and Glass. And it does not sound like this.
Not at all. Yeah, he's very kind. We see that the eyes of the turtle were kind, you know, but he also isn't getting involved, which maybe feels a little bit crazy to me, at least, if you're like this cosmological entity and you're just watching your like evil counterpart just fuck up this kid. But at the same time, you know, he's like, I'm not involved. It's sort of like what's it called? I don't remember the exact term for it, but the clockmaker theory, religion, where basically they believe that like the universe was created, like intelligent design, like created, but that whatever created the universe then stepped away like a master of like clockwork, to just let it run its own course kind of thing. So I think that may be sort of like what we're getting here in regards to how the turtle like views our world specifically, because again, like he's not really doing anything to interfere. He's like, you gotta just, if you can stand and be true and care enough to do this, you can do it, but I can't do it for you. Which is very different than what we're getting in Roland's vision.
Yeah, and even the idea of stand and be true, which King loves as like a good guy mantra, and that the gunsling, we see that a lot throughout the Dark Tower series.
Yes.
We don't hear anything about that in the Wizard's Glass.
No.
And again, it doesn't make any sense that the turtle would be inside of the glass anyway. None of this it doesn't make sense when you really start thinking about everything that we know and using our critical analysis, critical analytical skills, none of this is really adding up that what we're being told is exactly the truth of what's happening.
Yeah.
I do also, just kind of picking up on the line. So King had written this in 1986,
Yes.
okay. And then he wrote Wizard and Glass in 1997, like 97 and 99. So he'd
Yes.
already written this. But even there's just like mirroring of the language in that poem, like using the word kind there, and then using the word a child such as yourself even loves a child like me. So I feel like there's some little echoes going on
Yes.
there, apart from the bigger idea of he sees the truth, but he's not going to interfere, which we've really looked at that closely. But just these are the same guy, and that just to say it's the same guy in the nursery rhyme in Midworld as it is in the real life, the real life turtle
Yeah.
again.
I do think, again, talking about his cadence and his vocabulary, almost every time he talks to Bill, he's calling him son. We don't get that at all in the Pink Storm. Actually, the voice specifically refers to him as son of Stephen, so that is very different. Because in it, he, again, even though he's not getting involved or anything, he clearly has like paternal feelings toward Bill and toward all of the children, because he loves every child. That's the thing. Roland is a child here. He is only 14. We're not getting that paternal sense of like love and understanding here. We are getting the exact opposite.
That's right. And so I think this is a good place to end, where we're just at this point should kind of be questioning, is it possible that the turtle that King has laid down in very black and white ways in terms of how good this guy is and how much love there is there and how much kindness is there, can we just look at the surface with a surface lens on Wizard and Glass and just go like, that's probably the same guy. Like, yeah, he turned totally evil and is talking completely differently, and there's zero love involved, and he's interfering where he's never interfered before. Yeah, sounds right to me.
Especially when,
Big
like we
leap.
said, like you said, we have an antagonist who is known for interfering just for the hell of it. So, just something to think about as we go into the next part of this.
And what we're going to see in the next part is that we already have some clues from this vision, connecting the vision to the Man in Black. We have a couple that we've laid out that sound like the Man in Black, feel like the Man in Black, directly link this to the Man in Black. And we're going to come back and look at the other vision that the Man in Black gave Roland and just how many similarities there are between that one and this one, including direct language used.
Yes.
So that is where we're going. I think this is super cool. I never really thought too deeply about this vision. And that's okay. The first time you read this book, you're just going, you want to get to the tower. And we're just taking it all in. And we're saying, oh, that's what happened. Okay. And I really didn't give it too much thought. Ash, this is only your second time reading the series. This was Ash's idea, y'all. Like, she came up with this. And I think it's brilliant because really when you start going through with a fine-tooth comb, there's a lot of evidence that there's more than meets the eye here. So thank you all for listening. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about it like this before? Is this making sense to you? Do you want to debate? We love to debate. So lay down your alternate theories or why maybe we should just take this at face value. Tell us why. You got to show your work. We'll be back. We'll be back soon in the next week or two to finish. Or maybe this is a 3-part because we only got through 4 pages of 12.
Oh no.
I don't know. But it takes as long as it takes when we're talking Dark Tower.
Mm-hmm.
It takes 1,000 years and it gets longer every day. All right, let's close up. Anything you need to say that we missed before we stop
I
recording?
don't think so. I think just, as we go into the next one, really, really consider who the turtle is and who the man in black is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing with. There's not a lot of people out there that are like super, super nerdy about the Dark Tower. And I love all of them. And if you're still listening to this, you are one of them. So we love you and we thank you.
Yes.
And we want you to share this. I never knew anybody else like this. That's why I started this series, because I needed to talk about it and find people that just as nerdy as I was. But if you know anybody that's a nerd that you think would like to do a deep dive or who would love to argue with us and tell us why we're wrong, please do, because we do appreciate that, and that gets this in front of more people in the algorithm or whatever the heck is happening there. Thank you so much. We will see you again soon, and until we do wish you long days and pleasant nights.